Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of All-Star AD on the Educational AD Podcast. We're right back with today's All-Star, but let's give a shout out to our podcast partners, We Coach, the Florida Coaches Coalition, and the Global Community of Women in High School Sports. Check out these three great organizations. Find out what they can do for you and your program. And now, let's have a quick word from our podcast sponsors. Don't fast forward. It'll only take about 3 minutes. We want to thank Hometown Ticketing for their support of the podcast. Hometown Ticketing is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. And if you go to hometownticketing.com, they're going to show you how to sell your tickets for all your events, not just athletics, but things like school plays, school concerts, dances, even graduation. Go to hometownticketing.com, and you're also going to get a dedicated client success manager that's providing hands-on support every step of the way. That's hands-on support. Go to hometownticketing.com right now. Simple and easy online ticketing. We also want to thank Snap Mobile. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their entire suite of platforms designed to help you as an athletic director, including their fundraising platform, Snap Raise. We've used it with great success, and so can you. They even have a program where you can get your funding before you actually start your fundraiser. I don't think anyone else offers that. Go to snapraise.com. Again, check out their entire suite of platforms designed to help you do your job better. Snapraise.com. We want to thank Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and see how athletic directors are creating world-class marketing content for their school's social media channels. Use our code ADPOD10 and you'll get 10% off. Start creating custom content in seconds on any device. Go to Gipper.com for more information. We want to thank Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. You know, they're on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. Let them help you celebrate your community and showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments. And if you're looking for a really cool way to display your school records for all the events, they can help you with that too with their touchscreen video consoles. You'll find it all at vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check them out today. We want to say thank you to Huddle. Go to huddle.com and change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just love the tools and the professional customer service that Huddle provides. Join the 6 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We also want to say thank you to Sideline Interactive, indoor scoring tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Their products not only generate income for your department, but they also create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. One of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor scoring table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com right now. Create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. We want to say thank you to Final Forms, the industry leader in forms and registration. Final Forms can help your stakeholders with reminders. They can help your coaches with communication, and they can help you as an athletic director with all the reports that come across your desk. You know, it's time that you talk to a team that's walked in your shoes. To take those next steps, go to finalforms.com/Jake. That's finalforms.com/Jake to get started with Final Forms. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack connects you with your student athletes and your parents. As ADs, we typically only hear from that 2% that want to complain, and we need to hear from them, but we also need to hear from the 98% that really love our program, and Athletic Surveys can help connect you with them. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your student athletes or your parents, you're really missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com and see how they can help you take your athletic program from good to great. Welcome back, everyone, to another segment of All-Star AD as part of the Educational AD podcast. This is our series featuring 10 great women athletic directors who are sharing their thoughts, their perspective on subjects that we all face as athletic directors. And our guest today is Megan Ziegelhofer. Megan is the Director of Athletics at Mount Dora Christian Academy here in Florida. It's my pleasure to have been at Megan's school a number of times as a visiting athletic director, as a varsity basketball official for boys and girls, and as a track and field official. And she and her team always do a great job. Megan, thanks again for being a part of our all-star team. And what do you have for our listeners today?
Thank you for having me. So the topic I want to talk about today is relationships, something that I'm super passionate about, both with my student athletes, as well as my coaches, as well as the teachers and administration at our campus. Relationships take time and effort, but the benefits that come out of developing relationships with all of those people that I mentioned make the entire process better. So when kids, especially student athletes, have good relationships with teachers, with their coaches, with administration, it makes them have a greater sense of belonging, a greater sense of connectivity to the school community. When they feel like they're a part of something bigger, they tend to engage more. Whether it be, I have a unique situation being on a K-12 campus where we have all the way from 2 to 18-year-olds on our campus. So those 18-year-olds walking around are constantly thinking in the back of their mind, about what they say or what they do or what they wear, because there might be a 2-year-old or a 5-year-old who looks up to them and, thinks they're a superhero because they watch them play football on Friday nights and, they want to wear their number one day. And so the relationship piece to me is probably the most important and the most important part of my job. So some things that I think why the relationships are important. It's like critical for healthy development, fundamentals, student athletes to be successful both on and off the court, on and off the field. Having somebody that they know that they can rely on, somebody who relies on them, tends to just make them, work that much harder. I'm always, as a second level of accountability, I do a grade check 2 times every week. And if one of my student athletes falls below a 70%, there's a reason why. Are they struggling? So if they are, we're going to try to figure out how we can get them help. I'm telling them, go back to your teacher. Let's talk to them face to face. Let's find out if there's extra tutoring session or, if there's something that you can do, something that you can redo. And so without a relationship with those people, that would be non-existent. Setting an atmosphere on school grounds that's nurturing, that's encouraging, makes kids open up and feel at home. They spend, especially student athletes, spend hours and hours and hours. They probably spend more time at school than they do at home. And so being able to have somebody there, whether it's a coach, whether it's a teacher, whether it's an administrator, that they can depend on, that they can rely on, that they can, provide them emotional assistance. I mean, we live in a world where especially mental health. My background is psychology. I have a degree in psychology. So I'm always, wanting to learn more about the brain and how kids tick. And, every kid is not the same. And I see a lot of times where people try to put kids inside of a box, and you can't do that because each of them are individuals. Each of them may learn a different way, may, respond a different way to different, types of things. And so I just think being able to develop those relationships is very important. And I know in some places it's a lot easier to do that. I'm in a private school setting. And so, my job allows me to have, a lot of time to get to know my kids. And it's also very beneficial to me to be able to have those relationships with those students. I mean, I have kids who I taught or coached or have been the AD for that come back every summer, and they spend the whole summer working out on our campus. And it's neat to see them grow into adults and get married and have children of their own, and still, remember the relationship that they had back in the high school. So something that I'm super passionate about and that I see a lot less of in this day and age. People are so busy and they're, from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. Everybody's texting and through social media, and there's a lot less face-to-face interaction and relationship building.
Yeah, again, you bring up a great point on our regular interviews where we do the toolbox relationships is one of the most frequently mentioned tools that an athletic director needs to have. And again, you brought up the point that you are at a Christian school that is K through 12. And much of my career was at K through 12 campuses. And I know you haven't been there for 25 or 30 years, but I'm going to bet that you have some relationships with existing students whose parents went to Mount Dora Christian Academy back in the day, and maybe even some grandparents of kids and grandkids. Can you talk about that unique aspect relationship wise that we just don't see at the public school level because they're only there for those 4 years?
So I'll give you a specific example. We have two current senior basketball players that are twins. And several years ago, their mom went to the school, their uncle, their grandparents, their uncle actually worked at the school, and their uncle was killed in an accident. And they retired his jersey number. And the grandparents, which are the two basketball players' grandparents, it was their son. And this year we ordered a uniform, and I met with myself and Coach Hayes met with the grandparents and said, you know, we really want to bring his number out of retirement just for this season and have the boys alternate wearing it. And, you know, if that's not something that you're comfortable with, you know, we 100% understand, but we feel like we should, you know, extend that opportunity to the boys. I think it would be a really neat dynamic for them to be able to feel, you know, part of that, because they were young when he passed away. And she just open arms, you know, was so happy, crying, you know, happy that we did that. But it's neat to see you had the grandparents who were a part of it, and then the parents who were a part of it. And there was a tragic story, and we were able to, you know, make everybody feel like one big family by allowing those two kids to alternate that jersey number. And it's something super small that nobody would probably even notice, but to our community, it was a big deal. And it was a big deal to that family.
You know, I was an athletic director. Well, I was a teacher and a coach and an AD for 41 years. I was an AD, I think, for 26. That's got to be one of the coolest ways to connect generations, to keep families going, and to, you know, honor, you know, the legacy of, you know, a student athlete in your program. What a great idea. Wow. Okay. And I'm sure that's continuing to spark conversations, you know, with other, you know, generational families that are at your school.
Yeah, that's something we see a lot of, even more than I realized when coming. I've been at Mount Dora Christian for 8 years, and my dad and grandparents attended. I did not. I was in a magnet program in Seminole County, and so I didn't have the opportunity to go to Mount Dora Christian Academy. But I see so many, even like teachers who work there, whose parents might have worked there, and alumni who go off to college and then come back and work there as teachers or administrators. You know, our PR director was an alumni. So I think we have currently 26 employees who are alumni of the school, which is really neat.
Wow. That's incredible. Megan, again, always appreciate what you have to share with our listeners. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out and connect with you or pick your brain a little bit, and listeners, I think you've got a great resource. What's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
So a link to my direct email is on our website at www.mdcacademy.org. But my direct email is megan.ziegelhofer@mdcacademy.org, if you can figure out how to spell that.
Okay. If you can't figure out it, it's just like it sounds. Very few names are like that with that many letters, but it is truly just like it sounds. Megan Ziegelhofer is in the show notes, so you can figure it out that way. Megan, as always, thanks for sharing, and all the best as we're getting ready here in a few weeks to wrap up the 2023 season.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
It's been great. For our listeners, we do this every single week and just about every day with new content on the Educational AD podcast. Every episode gets uploaded to our YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening. Please come back next time for another episode of All-Star AD and the Educational AD podcast. We'll see you next time. Before we go, we do want to give a shout out to our partners, the global community of women in high school sports, We Coach, and the Florida Coaches Coalition. Check these organizations out. They really are something that you should be a part of. And now, one last time, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. These are all great products. I've used them as an AD, as a football coach. You should too. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack, Sideline Interactive, Wall of Fame by Vital Signs, Final Forms, Snap, Mobile, Huddle, Gipper, and Hometown Ticketing. Check these organizations out. You'll be amazed at what they can do for you, your teams, and your program. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.